Hello everybody, Prowl here, and we just finished watching the 4J dev stream on the 8th of May. And I've taken down a bunch of notes from this stream, and I just want to kind of summarize most of the things that happened here for you. There may be a couple things that I missed because I was commenting about something, or maybe I forgot to include it here in the list or just didn't think to write it down. But I have a long list of notes, as you can see there, on a lot of things that they talked about within this stream that I think is interesting. I think you guys are going to want to hear about and know about, and teach us some new things about the game, as well as some gives us an idea of the direction that they're looking to go in and their thought process behind the things that they're doing. I will just have maybe just a continuous playing of the stream in the background right here behind me, so you guys can kind of take a look. I may skip to certain parts if I feel the need to. But the first thing is actually the first thing that they're talking about here, and it has to do with sculpting the corners of blocks. So you're going to kind of see here, that's something that they've talked about. They did announce this before, but it's kind of cool to see it, and it works exactly how I thought it would, where whenever you point close to the corner of a block, since they kind of already have these anchor points here anyways, they have a cool looking UI element here that just shows you that you're looking to sculpt the corner of a block. And, you know, I've been hesitant about wanting to advocate for more block shapes and things like this in the past, but you can't help but think it's really cool when you see it. It is so awesome that they've been able to add this into a game in a way that looks really cool. For those that are asking, you cannot do like multiple shapes on a block or anything of that nature. So you can't like sculpt a block twice. And I don't think they're going to add that. It doesn't sound like they're going to add that right now. I don't think they need to. Some restrictions in the game are good. Being able to do stuff like this looks really cool, and you could do a lot of different things. You can do connected stairs with them. I don't know if that's what they're going to do right now. I think it is. You could do connected stairs. There's even like spheres. You can make spherical shapes. The whole thing is really neat, and the way that it works is kind of cool because the game can kind of like predict or determine what you're trying to do based on adjacent blocks to it, which is really neat as well. So here's the corner shape. See how I went ahead and added that in? That was really neat. Let me see if I can find a sphere really quick. Oh, and one of the things they talk about within this is the fact that when you used to do any kind of terraforming, breaking of land, you couldn't really get those same shapes back. And they did say that there's maybe a couple of outliers of shapes you can't get back, but for the most part, you're going to be able to do stuff like they're doing on screen right now and just refill in terrain that you've broken to make it look like it matches again. And it can tell based off of the blocks that are around it how it's going to apply that shape, which is really neat. Here's going to be an example of him doing a kind of spherical, or this is in this case like a half sphere shape, where he carves it into the like glass here, almost kind of like those like playgrounds that you would see in like a Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or something like that. Looks really neat. But the fact that this is something that you can do, I think is really cool. You'll see where he kind of starts off with a curve in the block to make it want to connect, to do it the right way. Let me skip ahead here a little bit. And then with there being another curve right there already, when he goes to add the curve to the corner, it knows it needs to do it as a connected shape, so it connects it over. And you could make these like spherical like shapes, which are really neat and really fun to mess around with. And I could think of a lot of ways that you would maybe want to do this in the world. It looks really cool. I like it a lot. And a lot of this stream ended up being both just them like kind of generally talking mostly about like things and their ideology behind the game and things like that. But also talking about other stuff too, like or I guess like getting led down topics through a Q&A that they did. I had several of my questions answered, and a lot of people asked a lot of questions. So I'm just going to kind of go through the things in a more chronological order in terms of like what people were talking about. So, or what they were talking about with everybody. So one thing, it was asked if vehicles would come to the game, and it's sometime in the future. And they did mention how first they've done internal testing to make sure that vehicles of some sort can navigate the terrain, because their terrain is kind of smooth, but you still have to, you know, have it coded to where a potential vehicle could navigate it. So they've done internal testing to make sure it's possible. They're not like currently working on anything right now, but they're open to the idea of adding vehicles of some sort into the game, which I think is really neat. Maybe it'll be vehicles that you have to build yourself. Maybe it'll be vehicles that have some type of power source to them. I can only speculate a little bit based on what it sounds like they were kind of hinting at here and there. But vehicles to some degree are at the very least a possibility inside of Reforj, which is going to be really cool. They talked about something that's just more relevant to like playtesting right now, and the fact that you can, like, when you mine up grass in the upcoming version, like the next release they probably have, you'll actually get the grass block, versus right now, anytime you mine up grass, you just get the dirt block from it, and you can't like recolor the terrain in any way. Like right now in the playtest, whenever you mine up a block of grass, you can only place dirt back down, so it kind of takes away from the building a bit in survival mode. So that's something that they talked about that's going to be coming. They talked about leaves having decay. Oh, right now he's showing, this is actually in the newest update that just recently hit. You can change the time of day, and you can lock the time of day, which is really neat. That's been a nice feature to add in while we're doing the play testing. And oh man, where can I find? They talked about leaf decay. And I wonder if I can find out where he went off to decide to do it. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, but the story on the leaf decay, because right now the way the game works is if you chop down a tree, the leaves just stay, which is obviously very annoying. Nobody wants to have to chop down the leaves. So they're going to have a temporary fix in where when you take out that last block of a tree, all of the leaves just disappear. You don't get them. They don't drop as items. They're just gone. And later on, they'll work on some more specific like leaf decay options. They don't quite know what route they're going to go with it yet, but something that they are discussing and thinking about, and at least getting a temporary solution in for those of us that are doing playtesting. Somebody asked about tool progression. And if you haven't seen it, I just dropped a video about tool progression and some ideas I have around that, which I think is really cool and really interesting. It's definitely worth taking a look at and watching. But they talked about it a little bit. Somebody did ask about it. They did mention, at least in like the verbiage that they use, that there's going to potentially be more tools added to the game. And then they said ways to get different materials. So maybe tools that have a specific purpose of gathering some specific things in the world. My mind goes to like shears getting wool from a sheep, as would be a kind of an example of that. So something of that nature, I'm guessing. They did talk about like longer forms of progression with tools. So there's going to be some type of way to modify them. That kind of gives me the vibes of like how enchants in Minecraft work. So like that modifies your tools with different properties. And then Joe Stampy was talking about this, and he said the word new powers, just kind of in passing in a long sentence of other things. And he might just mean it in the sense of like a fortune enchantment in Minecraft is a power for a tool. Or I don't know if he means it in a sense of like some type of player powers or something like that. Although later on, people did ask about like magic in the game. And they did say like the game's not going to have magic in the traditional sense. Although stuff like aura is a type of like magical-esque thing. It's really more of a power source. So you're not going to have like full on like RPG, Harry Potter style, like magical elements in the game. I did ask a question about if shapes are going to get, like if there's going to be any shapes that are locked behind progression. And they did say that it's possible some more complex shapes may be locked behind some form of, they made it sound like a simple progression system. So not like something where you have to like get into the late game to like, and it's like a really hard thing to unlock. But their rationale was maybe we don't want to just open it up to where everybody like we don't want to bombard a brand new player with this big radio of a whole bunch of different shapes. They want to give people a little bit of time to get accustomed to things. So we'll see how that turns out. I don't really think it's needed. I think the game, at least at this point, at this stage, is pretty self-explanatory. But we'll see where they go with that in the future. I doubt it's something that they do too soon, but definitely something that they're thinking about. Also, some questions were asked about if the game's going to have any type of like a story mode or something of that nature. And they mentioned that they didn't make it sound like there won't be a story, like a, I don't know, like a traditional like video game-esque campaign. Maybe there will be, but they said there won't be anything that goes as far as a specific plot and cut scenes and that sort of thing. It's probably going to be, if there's any type of story in the game, it'll be a little bit more like lore based than it is like based in any sort of like actual campaign style story mode. So we'll have to see what that means. I don't know if they even know what that means yet. So it may just be something that they'll figure out as they go. Or maybe they have people in the background working on it. I don't know. They got to talking about how to get like different blocks, because there's several blocks in creative mode that you cannot get yet in survival. So they're talking about some quick ways to add those things that are like not permanent ways of doing it. But then also talking about, they talked a little bit about like how they would do it. And what I mean by this is, they were talking about the resin blocks, and then they made a reference to stations. They're calling them stations. So that would be akin to like maybe like the smithing station in Minecraft or something like that, or a stone cutter in Minecraft is what I imagine. So something that can like process certain types of blocks in certain types of ways for you. I don't think they mean stations in the sense of like a game like Prowl-World or a game like PAX Day. I've played those recently, where like you have the station generate resources for you or something like that. I don't think they mean in that manner. I think they mean and more in the like the Minecraft type of way, which I would much prefer for a game like this. I got another question in about the world being simulated, because I had an experience where I died on the opposite side of the world from where my spawn point was set. And I immediately headed back to my spawn, to where I died. I had the coordinates. I went there. My stuff was already gone. And I had talked to Stampy about this after the fact. And Stampy had said that your item despawn timer starts immediately when you die. And you have 5 minutes to get to your stuff. So that made me think, because it's different. Because in Minecraft, right, if you're not in the same zone as your things, like if you don't have them in loaded chunks, then the timer doesn't run, but when they are loaded, it does run. So it kind of made me think the whole world is actually simulated all the time, which they made it sound like right now it does work that way, but that's not going to be the way that it's intended to work long term, because once they start adding in some more taxing systems, machines, and that sort of thing, just other general game mechanics, the game probably wouldn't be able to perform well and handle those things simulated across the whole world. So they don't ultimately know where the simulation distance is going to end up. I think it's a kind of wait and see thing. They have to see where some of these things kind of fall in line and how these things affect the game. And it's not something that they can predict right now. But in short, there's going to be some type of simulated range. Will it be as far as render distance? Will it be shorter than that? We just don't know. They also want to see how the game performs in multiplayer. All of these things are going to be considerations that they have to make. I also got another question in asking about time, because I was just kind of curious. I hadn't timed it out, how long it takes for a Reforged world to, like how long a day is. And they said it's every 1 minute, every 1 hour in game takes 1 minute. So an hour equals a minute. So a full day cycle is 24 minutes. And I didn't think to ask or check and see, but the way it seems to me is that the daytime and nighttime are probably equal length. So 12-minute day, 12-minute night. I didn't think about it. I just thought about this just now. I don't know if there will be a way to even skip the night yet. That there's nothing in the game currently. Hopefully they have a way to skip the night in case you want to, because nighttime can usually be kind of annoying for building and doing things, dealing with mobs and that sort. Somebody else asked a question about having two blocks occupy the same space, meaning like you take a half slab of one block type and a half slab of another block type and like be able to put them together. They explain the complexities around doing something like that and how it's not something that's likely to happen because of the complexities of doing it and what it would require the game engine to do. So I wouldn't expect something like that to happen. They technically didn't say a hard no around it being a thing, but it doesn't seem like it'll be something that will be coming to the game. Here was a really cool, interesting thing they talked about. They were talking about crouching. And then people were asking like if maybe you could be able to go prone, like lay down, kind of like you can in Minecraft when you like elytra fly into like a little 1x1 tunnel or something like that. They said the crouching is going to be coming pretty soon. I think maybe they even had it in temporarily, but they got to think of all the mechanics around crouching. Will you be able to crouch under thing? You got to move, you got to shrink the player hitbox, you got to change the player view and all these different things. There's a lot that goes into even adding crouching to the game. And then other mechanics like if you crouch close to an edge of something, will you be able to like, will that prevent you from falling off? There's all sorts of different things like this. And then they brought up a really, really cool idea that I'd never thought of, but it's something that I experience in a lot of games that I play, right? Is the ability to be able to like slide. I think of a game like Fortnite, or you could think of Call of Duty or something, when you like sprint and then you crouch, you do like a sliding animation. The game has that capability. It's their own game engine. So they could definitely introduce something like player sliding. And then with how the terrain generates being a kind of smooth slopes across a lot of areas and hills, the game is set up to do that. So it sounds like sliding is going to be something that is very likely to be part of Reforj and could have some really cool implications with parkour courses, with mechanics. The game does have physics to it. We'll talk about physics in a little bit. And the game does have like velocity as part of like how it works. And I guess that's, technically a part of physics as well, but like that's a thing. So, I picture instances where maybe you can slide into a mob and knock them backwards or into something or away from you. I don't know, really cool stuff. There's some really cool implications that could come around with sliding physics in the game. So I'll be excited to kind of see and hear what exactly that's going to entail. They did mention something that's really cool. They are taking live stats of everybody that's playing right now. So they do keep statistics of who does what, who's killed the most of this, who's broken the most blocks, who's placed the most blocks. Unfortunately, I'm not on any of these leaderboards. I don't have, even though I've been spending full time for the last 2 weeks, like doing stuff with the game, I've been spending so much time making content and doing things that I don't even have that much playtime in the game. Not as much as some of these people. So I'm not on any of the leaderboards, but it's super cool that they're keeping these stats and letting people know what they are. And they even mentioned how at their like office coffee machine, they literally have a big like 70-inch screen above it that just has live stats of the things most done by different players. I thought that was pretty neat. So you literally, if you get on the leaderboard, if you do the most of something, die the most times, like all these different things, like they will see it happen on their leaderboard live. So that's kind of cool. They also talked about something I didn't know. I don't think this was put out there publicly yet, but they talked about when Reforj was first, like its development or ideas first became a thing, which I thought was pretty neat, right? And I think about it, like people want to, I don't know, some people have the impression that this game has been designed, like under designed for a long time. And I think they're getting it mixed up with Hightail, because Hightail was announced in what, like 2018? Or so. It's a long time ago, like maybe 2019, 2020, sometime around there. Hightail's been announced for like 6 years now, and we've barely seen anything about it. And people want to try to draw this comparison of Reforj to Hightail. Well, Reforj first came about as an idea at the end of 2013. The end of 2013, it became an idea. They did start the game engine before that, but they were just making it as a generic game engine. They were not making it as a game yet. They had no clue what type of game they might want to do in it. So the game of Reforj has only been in development for 1.5 years, from the concept of the idea of it up until the point where we are now with all the stuff being added. So I thought that was pretty neat and pretty noteworthy for everybody to know that this game is progressing extremely fast compared to what we're used to seeing with other games. It's kind of cool. Somebody asked about super flat worlds. They do have super flat worlds on their roadmap. So super flat worlds will be a thing in this game. Customizable super flat worlds. They really like that idea. It's something that they ran with a lot back during their Minecraft console edition days. So that would be something that you will definitely see. Another thing on their roadmap are circuits. Think of what that means. What are other circuits, Redstone. So they're not just going to have these super simplistic like job blocks that do everything for you and make the game boring. They're going to have circuitry of some type in the game, which means automation of things. And that gets me really excited, because automation to that level of detail, just it inspires a lot of playtime, a lot of fun, a lot of creativity. So that's something really good to hear. It makes me feel great about the game that we're going to see circuits being added in to where we get to build our own stuff. Somebody asked about structures. They don't have anything to say about structures. They actually, it sounds like they don't really want to say much about structures because they don't want to give stuff away. It's going to be one of those things where they kind of want people to just get surprised by it and then see it. Oh, is this where he does the tree? Hold on. I think this is where he chops the tree down. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. So he drops right now where he chops out the last block. All the leaves just disappear. So that's to do with what we were talking about earlier with the leaf decay. So at least you don't have to deal with them if you're playing in the pre-alpha. You won't have to worry about that anymore. But anyways, going back to what we were talking about with structures, they do plan on adding structures. They do not want to give any details about the structures, but you will have like pre-generated structures in the game. Somebody also asked about if you're going to have the ability to like share worlds or transfer worlds between devices. Say you play on PC and on Xbox, will you be able to have a world on your PC and then transfer that to your Xbox or play it in some way? And that's something that they're not really thinking about yet. They're really worried more about like the core gameplay first. And then that's the type of stuff that they'll get to later. It's that type of thing is so far down the line right now that it's something that they're not really discussing yet. So we'll see if that's something that happens. And if it's something that you really want, you should probably give that feedback and let them know so they can add it to their plans. There's going to be a lot of interesting mechanics with mobs. One that actually exists right now that I didn't know about is that the Tunneler Scout. So it's like one of the things we know about the Tunneler Scout mob is that he's kind of like a collector of aura. But what I didn't know is when the Tunneler Scout hits you, it actually knocks aura off of you, the player. And then the Tunneler Scout actually eats the aura and consumes it. So they're going to have little like interesting, like quirky gameplay mechanics like that when it comes to mobs, where mobs are a lot more than just they hit you and attack you and that's it. There's a little bit of talk about aura and about light sources. Currently, the only light source in the game is the, do they call it the aura torch? It's the noble glass torch or whatever it's called. And it costs 1 aura to make one of those. And they are going to continue to add more light sources. And it sounds like for the most part, those light sources will actually have a cost to them of aura. I don't quite personally understand why they want to tie a cost to just being able to light stuff up. I don't know if that's something they'll stick with or not. I don't think I like it, but we'll see where they go with it before I make any like bigger judgments about it. I did ask a question about spectator mode and like a night vision type thing, because they were talking about caves and how the caves look, but it's kind of hard to really judge the caves right now because you have to dig around to find one. Then you have to explore it in the dark and light it up. And then you have to re-explore it once the light's already there. You don't really get a good sense for how the caves generate. So I suggested they or asked if they were going to add in a spectator mode and a night vision. And it is something that they are considering doing, although they're probably not really close to it yet because of all the work that's involved with it. I asked a question as well about physics in the game because they talked about it a couple times and how like physics are going to exist in the world. If you've watched the games, the Elements Engine videos that were previewing what the Elements Engine can do, they showed a lot of really cool physics-based stuff where like a mountain would explode and then like full-size blocks go flying everywhere. It looks really cool, but we don't have anything like that inside of Reforj yet. There's nothing really to do that type of thing. So they did say that those types of physics are possible in the game and they just don't have a means to do it yet. But you'll likely see something like making an explosive device, TNT or whatever it may be, and you cause that explosion and then like blocks go flying everywhere before they get destroyed or something like that. So that is going to be a really cool thing that's going to be part of the game. They talked a little bit about they call them their material rules, basically talking about how like things will generate in the world. So right now they have the ability for ores to generate at different elevations and within different types of blocks. So maybe there's certain ores that you can only find in stone or in marble or something like that. And they're going to add more of those kind of qualifiers as they go. So you will have things like you'll be able to target finding different ores and things because they're going to have this possibility to figure out what the mechanics are to find it. And then you can kind of use that to find the things that you're looking for. So I thought that was noteworthy. There will be a hunger system in the game eventually. No thirst system, just hunger, which I think is fine. They didn't really elaborate a whole lot on it, but it sounds like they have a few plans for different ways to make that interesting and fun. I asked them about the ability to like re-sculpt things. So like basically if you sculpt something once to be able to come back and then sculpt the thing again. not like, not double sculpting, not like changing, like not putting two shapes together, but like if I do the wrong shape on something, can I just change it? And I don't think they quite understood the full extent of the question. It's kind of hard to convey something like that sometimes, because they went into talking about how they don't want to have the controls be too difficult or something of that nature. I think if I just tried to put a different shape on a shape that's already there, they would probably be fine just changing it. I don't think that'd be difficult for anybody. So I might try to ask that question again when I have a one-on-one talk with some of the developers here, so to get something a little bit more solid on that, or maybe explain my question a little bit better. They were talking about like what Reforj is as a world, and this would be worth probably going back and listening to, just kind of hear how they talked about it. But Reforj is like this mix of futuristic and fantasy. They're kind of talking about how they wanted to represent the real world enough to where you feel like you can recreate your house or a town or city or your favorite site from the modern world. And or maybe even like we have like these different bricks and stuff, so maybe even things that are like medieval and things like that. They want you to be able to depict those things and then base themselves on some type of reality, meaning if the sky was green and the grass was purple, you wouldn't feel like you could do that type of thing. So they wanted to give you that ability to draw inspiration from what we're used to here on planet Earth. But they made a really cool inference here. They were talking about gateways, and they like made a reference to how gateways can take you to a custom world that you like kind of dictate. So maybe in the like your generic world, yeah, maybe it doesn't have these like unnatural colors and things, but like if you wanted to make a sky island world, you could do that in a gateway. So I don't think they've like fully fleshed out what all the things are going to be able to do are quite yet, but it sounds to me like your gateways, like those worlds are going to be pretty highly customizable, more so than just give me a different mix of biomes, but instead like floating islands, or like they didn't say, no, I don't, you'll never be able to change the color of the sky or make the grass purple. They didn't say that you can't do that. They just kind of said like gateways will be your place to do things that maybe don't have to reflect the real world. So we could have some pretty crazy stuff happen with gateways. It sounds like that system is very wide open for what it can potentially do. And then as things were kind of closing out, people were asking questions about like farms and like automated mob farms and things like that. And their answer was, I would say, kind of like a Minecrafty type answer. Like, oh, I mean, you know, we don't have plans to intentionally add in some type of mob farm, but you know, players are creative. You know, once we add like flowing water in the game and stuff like that, players will probably figure out how to farm this kind of stuff. And, you know, players are going to be players. They're going to do the things that they're going to be creative and figure out how to do the things they want to do, which essentially means that we will have automated farms in some fashion. Like they're not saying, no, that's not going to be possible to do. They're saying that they're not intentionally adding these types of farms into the game. So we're going to have mob farms, guys. We're going to have ways to farm different things, which is going to be really cool. I can't wait to see it. And then when you add in the fact that you're going to have circuits and machinery, and you have aura as a power source, the sky seems like the limit right now for like how much automation and things we're going to be able to do in the game. So, oh, and then Stampy clarified right after that. He said, farming is something they will absolutely be adding to, or we will absolutely be adding to the game. So I'm thinking what he means is we're not going to say, hey, let's add a way in for players to farm mobs. What he's saying is we're going to add in ways for you to be able to do things that you want to do. And if you want to make a mob farm, well, then you're going to be able to do it because the tools to do it are going to be there. So, man, I can't wait. This is all super cool. That pretty much sums up everything I got. If you watched the stream, let me know if there's anything that I missed that you think is of note down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. If you didn't watch the stream, what do you think about some of the things that they talked about during this? Did you like the developer stream? Do you hope to see more of them? Do you hope to see more of my coverage on the developer streams? And yeah, I think that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks a lot. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel for more great news and information like this. And I'll see you next time.